Hi, everybody, and welcome to Alex Erm's Clips. The age-old question, should you tell someone that their partner is cheating on them? Is it worth getting involved in someone else's relationship to reveal the truth? Today's story follows a guy who decided to seek justice, and I'm here to tell you all about the surprising consequences that followed. I caught my girlfriend cheating with her best friend's groom on their wedding day. This shocking revelation led me to break up with her and inform the bride, effectively ruining their wedding. But my story doesn't end there. I decided I wanted revenge. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I met my girlfriend, a 26-year-old woman, at a bar during a trivia night. She impressed me with her extensive knowledge, which immediately attracted me to her since I'm a trivia enthusiast myself. We hit it off and soon began dating. At the time, I was pursuing a master's degree, while she had recently left her teaching job to build an online presence as a trivia influencer. I supported her wholeheartedly, believing the internet needed more personalities like hers, especially women. Back in high school, she had a close friend named May, who had a high school sweetheart named Tom. Their relationship seemed perfect to outsiders. Despite attending colleges on opposite sides of the country, they managed to stay together and eventually move close to each other. A few months ago, my girlfriend excitedly told me that Tom had proposed to May and that their wedding was coming up soon. Having met Tom and May several times, I found them to be genuinely nice people, and I was truly happy for them. I admired their enduring love, believing in the beauty of finding your soulmate early in life. The wedding day finally arrived, and it was a spectacular event. The venue was buzzing with excitement, although it was a bit rowdy due to many of May's relatives being part of a motorcycle club, a point of pride for her extended family. Despite their rough appearances, they were friendly, though some were quite intimidating. I didn't have the same emotional connection to the couple as my girlfriend did, but the wedding still moved me. The love between Tom and May seemed palpable, a testament to their years together. However, things took a turn for the worse during the reception. While making small talk with another guest who had attended high school with the couple and my girlfriend, I tried to point out my girlfriend. When I finally spotted her, she was with the groom, Tom, near a wall, and they both looked unusually serious. The bride, May, was elsewhere, happily chatting with friends. Seeing my girlfriend and Tom in a private conversation wasn't inherently problematic. What bothered me was the intense seriousness of their discussion on what should have been a joyous day. I decided to confront my girlfriend about it later when we returned to our hotel room. As the night wound down and we got back to our room, I brought up what I had seen. "Hey," I began, trying to keep my tone casual. "What were you and Tom talking about earlier? You both seemed pretty serious." "Oh, it was nothing," she replied quickly, a bit too quickly. Her response only heightened my suspicions. "Really? It didn't look like nothing," I pressed. "It looked pretty intense for a wedding day conversation." She hesitated, then sighed. "Look, it was just some personal stuff. It's not important." But her evasiveness only fueled my doubts. Something was definitely off, and I was determined to find out what it was. I told her it obviously couldn't be nothing, and she seemed to realize she needed to provide a more convincing explanation. Reluctantly, she admitted that Tom was having a classic case of wedding jitters, questioning if he was making the right decision, and she was just helping him calm down since they'd known each other for so long. Her answer was somewhat convincing, but I still had questions. Why hadn't one of the groomsmen given this pep talk? Why did it seem like more of a heated back and forth rather than a simple reassurance? Despite my doubts, I decided to let it go for the time being. However, my suspicions resurfaced when I noticed her constantly messaging someone on her phone. Each time she picked it up, her expression would turn serious. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something from me. Cheating didn't cross my mind at first. I assumed it might be something personal that Tom had shared with her in confidence, but I needed to know for sure, so I decided to check her phone. Honestly, it wasn't the first time I'd done this. On 2 previous occasions, when I had strong suspicions she was hiding something, I'd looked through her phone. Both times, I found nothing suspicious, which helped build my trust in her. But this time felt different. Later that night, after she'd fallen asleep, I quietly took her phone and went straight to her messages with Tom. He was the one she'd been messaging most of the evening. There were numerous messages exchanged that very day, especially after we returned to the hotel. I scrolled back to the start of the day and found a message from her. "Can I come around?" His response was a simple eyes emoji, followed by a yes. These messages were from the afternoon, around the time she had told me she was going to the room where the bridesmaids were getting their makeup done by a traveling artist. My heart sank. I quickly checked her chats with me and saw that I had asked where she was. It had taken her a while to reply, but she eventually said she was on her way. Nervously, I returned to the messages with Tom and started reading their conversation from that evening. It took me a while to piece together the context, but I eventually understood. As long as you're not going to try and come clean, we'll both be fine, my girlfriend had messaged. Trust me, I'm not. I have a hell of a lot more to lose in this right now than you do, Tom replied. This is the worst possible timing. It was the only possible timing, Tom, especially since we waited this long in the first place, she argued. We didn't wait for anything. You came to my room, and on the cusp of being married, there was something tempting about you being a reality. It was taboo, and that was the appeal. I know I messed up, but you liked it, she wrote, adding a smile emoji. That's not the point. You can like something and still know you shouldn't have done it, Tom countered. You sound like you have a conscience now, but you didn't when I was naked in front of you. I messed up, yes. I liked it, yes. This will never happen again. I've crossed a boundary in my life where this kind of stuff is now unacceptable. And no, I'm not stupid enough to tell May. At least indulge me and tell me what you like the most, she prompted. I've always fantasized about you, and this was like a dream come true for me. Reading those words felt like a punch to the gut. My girlfriend had crossed a line with Tom, and on his wedding day, no less. The realization hit hard, and I knew I couldn't ignore this betrayal. Then Tom went on for about 2 paragraphs describing their sexual encounter, detailing what he liked most about her body and the things she did. I didn't realize my hand was shaking with rage until I could barely read the screen. In the midst of my fury, I managed to capture as much of the incriminating conversation as I could on my phone before storming out of the hotel room. I wandered aimlessly that night, trying to make sense of my chaotic thoughts. The emotional pain was so intense it felt physical, like a deep ache that made me want to curl up and disappear. But amidst all that pain, there was a sliver of relief. I now knew my girlfriend was a cheater, and I could end things without facing the pain of a divorce. Tom and May had just gotten married, and I realized that I could have ended up marrying a cheater without knowing anything about it. I was certain I wanted to break up with her, but I faced a moral dilemma about whether to tell May. She had just married Tom, and I wasn't sure if it was better to shatter her newlywed bliss with the painful truth or let her remain in ignorance. I didn't know May well enough to predict how she would handle such devastating news. I could simply break up with my girlfriend and let her know why without exposing Tom. Alternatively, I could confront Tom and let him know I was aware of his betrayal, but that didn't feel like sufficient punishment. Feeling lost and hurt after 4 years of dating, I sought advice on how to proceed without resorting to anything illegal, even though some illegal options seemed tempting. Many suggested that I shouldn't worry about how May would handle the information and that I should focus on doing the morally right thing by telling her. They argued that my responsibility was to tell the truth, regardless of how it affected May's perception of me. A humorous yet inappropriate suggestion was that I should seek revenge by getting involved with May, but I dismissed it as impractical and against my principles. The consensus was that staying with a cheater was never justified if I had the means to leave, and that's exactly what I planned to do. Update. Hello, friends. I'm back with an update. I'm pleased with how things have turned out, and I don't think they could have gone any better. Here's what happened. The first thing I did was end my relationship with my girlfriend, now ex. After we returned home from the wedding trip, I told her we needed to talk. We sat down, and the first thing I said was, "I know that you slept with Tom." Her face went pale, and her eyes widened in shock. She began to stutter, clearly trying to come up with an excuse or defense, but she quickly realized it was futile. There was nothing she could say to justify or deny what had happened. I told her that she had 1 hour to pack her things and arrange for someone to pick her up. After that, I would kick her out, calling the police if necessary. Anything left behind would be donated to Goodwill or thrown in the trash. I emphasized that her time started immediately. She sat on the couch, tears streaming down her face, trying to speak, but all she managed was a croaked, "Babe, I'm sorry," before sobbing uncontrollably. I just shook my head and chuckled. 5 minutes later, she was still sitting there, I reminded her that her time was ticking. Finally, she got up and began to pack. When the hour was up, she emerged with 2 suitcases, and her friend, who she had called, dragged out a third. I assumed she had packed everything important to her because I was serious about donating or trashing anything left behind. I didn't want any reminders of her in my house, and I eventually got rid of everything, forbidding her from returning. After she stepped out the door, I never saw her in person again. She did come back once, knocking on my door and begging to talk, but I never opened it, and she didn't try again. Breaking up with her was just the first part of my plan. The next step was to call May. If she lived closer, I would have wanted to talk to her in person to convey the seriousness of the situation. When she answered, I ensured Tom wasn't nearby and told her I had something extremely serious to share. When she urged me to get on with it, I told her everything, that my ex-girlfriend and her husband had slept together on their wedding day. I shared all the details I knew, except the graphic ones. The other end of the line was silent for a long time. I reassured her that I was unsure if telling her was the right decision, but she was glad I did. She was shocked and hurt that her longtime friend would betray her like this. May thanked me and said she would handle the situation. About a week later, I knew she had confronted Tom because my ex-girlfriend called me, furious. I picked up out of curiosity. She was angry that I'd ruined their marriage, saying it was fine that I broke up with her, but I shouldn't have interfered with May and Tom. She argued that I didn't know them well enough to get involved. May had ended things immediately. I laughed and hung up on her, amused that she was trying to claim any moral high ground. Next, I decided to expose her on social media. Instead of doing it myself, I hired someone to help. I provided him with the entire story and the incriminating conversations. He went to work on all her social media pages, commenting under her posts with the details. Every time she blocked one account, he would switch to another. This stirred up a lot of discourse among her followers until she had to disable comments on all her posts. About 2 weeks later, she stopped posting altogether, a significant change from her usual schedule of nearly 5 posts a week. This absence brought me a sense of satisfaction. I know she might try to wait it out, but I'll be ready when she decides to make a comeback. The internet never forgets. Here's the funniest part of it all. When May told her relatives that her marriage was over, they were naturally curious about why. She didn't hold back in explaining. May is a sweetheart, and her aunts, uncles, and cousins adore her. Her biker relatives in particular were livid. Those biker relatives of hers caused quite a commotion at Tom's house. According to May, they roughed him up a bit. But the best part for me was that they also went to my ex-girlfriend's house. Somehow, they got her address. They didn't hurt her, but they certainly scared the life out of her. Last I heard, she had left her sister's place and moved out of state. I don't know if that's permanent, but it's extremely amusing to me that her cheating made her flee like a fugitive. So I broke up with her, made sure the cheating groom was caught by his wife, did my part in dismantling my ex's online career, kicked her out, and disposed of her belongings. Tom got beaten up just enough, and my ex was frightened to the point that she ran out of state. To me, that's as satisfying as revenge can get. I honestly feel a whole lot better. Being cheated on isn't fun, but it seems revenge is the right medicine for it, especially if done properly. Make sure it hurts, brothers and sisters, and you'll feel better for it. Thank you to everyone for all the help and assistance along the way. I'll be sure to return the favor to others who need help. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more juicy relationship tales. Now, let's get back to the next story. I recently ended a 4-year relationship with my fiancé, a 43-year-old man, after confronting him about feeling neglected. Despite forgiving him for his emotional infidelity, I couldn't shake off the repulsion I felt towards his touch. To give you some background, I'm a 35-year-old woman, and my fiancé is self-employed, often collaborating with people from other companies. Over the past 5 months, he has been working on a project that introduced him to a woman he seemed to connect with on a deeper level. This whole ordeal began about a month and a half ago. I decided it was time to have an honest conversation with him because I was increasingly feeling neglected. Before I could even finish expressing my feelings, he broke down, apologizing profusely. He admitted that he had developed a crush on his coworker. "We just have so much in common," he explained. "We spent a lot of time together, and she really admired me. It was flattering, especially since we hadn't been spending much time together." I felt lonely. His confession caught me off guard. He assured me that nothing beyond emotional attraction had happened, but the guilt and shame were eating him up. To demonstrate his commitment to fixing our relationship, he promised to work from home for the remainder of the project, which he has been doing faithfully. She texted him a few times, inquiring if he would return to the office. Each time, he replied curtly with a simple no, even when she tried to initiate further conversation. When she mentioned missing their talks and asked if she had done something wrong, he clarified, "You haven't done anything wrong, but I think it's best if we keep our interactions strictly professional from now on." In an effort to rebuild trust, he linked his phone to our iPad, allowing me to see all her messages. He begged, "Please let me fix this. I need you to give me a chance to make things right." I told him I needed some time to process everything, which visibly scared him. Seeking advice, I confided in a few friends. They convinced me to forgive him, arguing that having a crush is normal and that his honesty was a good sign. "We've been together for 4 years, and I've never had a crush on anyone else," I protested. "Not even during my previous 10-year relationship." Despite my reservations, I decided to give him another chance. He was incredibly grateful, throwing himself into repairing our relationship. He became more romantic, attentive, kind, and loving. He even read numerous books on relationships and infidelity, trying to understand what went wrong. On the surface, it seemed like we were making progress. I knew all the right things to say and do, and outwardly, I appeared receptive to his efforts. But the truth was far from that. Every touch and kiss from him felt repulsive. My mind churned out sarcastic, sardonic responses to everything he said and did, though I never voiced them. Internally, I was withdrawing from the relationship, feeling an unexpected attraction to other men, a clear sign that my emotional connection with him was severing. Is there a way to overcome this? Have you ever experienced something similar? As responses continued to flood in on the thread, I realized the painful truth. Love alone isn't enough to overcome a lack of trust. Reflecting on this, I decided to end the relationship. I've been mentally checked out for a while, I confessed to myself, echoing one user's comment. Once that happens, there's no turning back. No amount of promises, effort, or guilt can restore trust. You need to trust your partner deeply, with your body, your feelings, your life. Another user, Juice1560, pointed out, "You subconsciously feel unsafe, and that's making you check out." He didn't come clean until you confronted him. It wasn't just an innocent crush. He was engaged in the beginning of an emotional affair. I replied, thanking them for articulating what I couldn't. "I can see myself marrying him, having a child with him, and then him looking for another woman while I'm still postpartum. It's better to break up now before marriage and children complicate things further. Should I just hope he won't do it again the next time things get tough?" If I hadn't confronted him, how far would it have gone? I love him, but I'm not sure this relationship is worth continuing anymore. I don't trust him. I can't move past this. I don't want to spend my life policing his every move and feeling paranoid each time he stays longer at work. I don't deserve that. Yesterday afternoon, I gathered the courage to talk to him. "Please, don't interrupt until I'm finished," I began. Calmly, I laid out everything on my mind since discovering his emotional infidelity. "I've lost trust, respect, and any affection I once had for you. What you did was emotional cheating, and I doubt that's where it stopped. I appreciate that you've been reading self-improvement and relationship books, and I hope you learn from this experience and grow as a person. But it won't save our relationship. I'm done." He begged for another chance, asking to attend couples therapy and promising to seek individual therapy as well. "I love you," he pleaded. "I know I messed up and don't deserve you, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life making it up to you." "Your words aren't enough," I replied. "They'll never be enough again." I started packing my things as he followed me around the apartment, crying and making more promises. Before I left, he asked, "Would you reconsider us sometime in the future if I prove myself?" "I don't see that happening," I said. "I wish you all the best, but it's not going to be with me." Now, I'm staying with a friend while looking for an apartment. He sent flowers to my office with an "I love you" card. I wanted to throw them away, but didn't want to draw attention at work. So far, I've received 3 emails from him, each pouring out his heart. I haven't responded and don't plan to. I haven't blocked him either. He shattered my self-confidence and made me doubt myself. He might as well feed my ego now. I am so angry, hurt, and depressed. I feel like I could burn down the whole world with my rage. How will I ever trust someone again? My grandfather cheated on my grandmother. My father cheated on my mother. My uncles cheated on their wives, and all of them had children outside their marriages. My ex knew this and worked hard to earn my trust, only to completely shatter it. I don't think I could survive going through something like this again. How do I cope? How do I get better? But yes, some me time would help. In my current state, everything my wife says sounds like nails on a chalkboard. She doesn't suspect anything, but feels I'm distant, which might make her start to suspect. I don't want her to react before I get my own head straight. Thank you all for your input. Writing this update feels therapeutic. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching.